Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Mayorga, and this is the second week of the little series that I'm doing for toxic relationships. Last week we talked about unsupportive behavior and we talked about toxic communication. And this week I'm going to talk about distrust and disrespect. And these are two behaviors that the toxic person will engage in with their significant other, and that can create strife and conflict. So this is just going to be a small little video, and then next week I'll do the third part, and then I think the fourth week we'll wrap it up. Okay, and that's when I will talk about the people that tend to get drawn to toxic personalities or toxic people. So the behavior that I'm talking about right now is distrust. Okay? So what does it mean when you distrust somebody? It means that uh, they're thinking that you're unreliable or dishonest. And so that happens in a toxic relationship, but it's the toxic person that is thinks that you're unreliable or you're dishonest. So they've got to monitor every single aspect of your time. And that brings me to a thought about many years ago when I was doing work in a high school. I was working with a group of young girls, 11th graders, 10th graders. Oh, they were just, it was a series of group sessions that I did to help them understand what is a healthy or unhealthy relationship. And there was about 6 or 7 girls in there. And I was talking about the type of behavior that happens in a healthy relationship. You have your independence, you are not being monitored, you don't have to be constantly talking to each other, they do not isolate you, very much like an abusive relationship or perpetrator. And there's a very close connection, a lot of similarities between what I'm sharing with you of a toxic person and what you see if you're involved in an abusive relationship. And the young girls were just shocked when I started sharing all this information to them. And then I proceeded, because all of them were in that kind of a relationship. They'd met somebody and they just were deeply in love within a day or two. And they just thought if somebody tells you not to see your girlfriends or be with your friends and that you've got to call them every 5 minutes and they've got to be waiting for them outside the classroom and all of this, that means that's love. And when they began to recognize that that was not a healthy relationship, they began to open up about the abuse that was occurring to them by being in this relationship. In other words, stonewalling is one of those where if you don't do what I say that you're supposed to do, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to withhold my affection. I'm going to make you believe that it's all your fault and you make me be this way. And so it was a very enlightening situation in that school for these young girls, so much so that after a couple of sessions, some of the girls began to come up to me and tell me that they knew that they were in an abusive relationship. They didn't know how to get out of it. And I think that's something that's very difficult. I've done a lot of work with women who have been in abusive situations. And research indicates that it takes about 9 times before a woman will finally get the gumption to leave the relationship, especially if there's children, if there isn't, if financially you're not independent. And I've seen it even with women that are independently, financially independent, still not be able to get out of a relationship. So going back to distrust, the toxic person is going to want to monitor every aspect of your life. I had a situation, not personally myself. I've done a lot of work with as a counselor, and there was a woman that I was working with. She could not step out of the house, step into the car, and drive down the street without getting a phone call from her significant other. And this person would get a phone call. If she was out all day, it would be like every 15 minutes. Where are you? When are you coming home? Uh, and this person, the significant other person, would use the excuse that he was scared for her or afraid that something was going to happen to her. This constant monitoring uh, was so overwhelming for her that sometimes she would just say, oh, forget it, I'm just not even going to do what I need to do, because nothing that you do makes that person stop doing that. So they're constantly checking up on you, they're constantly calling you, they're constantly guilting you, they're constantly texting you, they're constantly monitoring what you do, what you're wearing, why are you going to do that, and why do you have to go to the meeting, and why do you have to work late, and why do you have to do this, and why do you have to do that. And it begins to drain your resources, your energy, everything, because no matter what you do, it's not ever going to be enough. They're going to continuously want to monitor every aspect of your life, every step that you take. Uh, and it's a very difficult way to live. And until the person with the toxic personality decides that there's something not right here and that I need to work on myself, this is something that you're going to deal with. And you a lot of people, oh, I don't think that's possible. I mean, we're enlightened. We women know better, or men, because this happens to men too. It's not. I'm not talking specifically with about one gender. This is across the board. Uh, that anybody can be in a toxic relationship. You can have a toxic relationship with a friend. I knew of someone that friends for 20 years, 20 years, and kept trying with the person that was being abused by the toxic friend. Kept thinking, no, it'll get better. Just uh, give them the benefit of the doubt. And that person had friends who would say, why are you still in this relationship with this person when this is occurring all the time? It took her 20 years to finally make the decision, and she had to cut it off completely. You couldn't even get out of it slowly. It just ended with a phone call, and the person kept calling back until the phone calls finally stopped. But it took a while. And so again, it being around somebody that is constantly accusatory and constantly monitoring every aspect of your life, at first it feels fantastic. I've heard it. Oh, they love me, they care about me, it's because they want to know how I'm doing. And only to find that it becomes a burden to always have to answer for whatever you're doing. I knew another couple. I mean, the person couldn't get up to even go to the refrigerator to try to get something to eat, maybe ice cream or something, without being questioned why. Were they getting up? Why were they going to the refrigerator? I mean, really very intrusive when they want to monitor every aspect of your life. And at first, if you don't have a healthy concept of what it is to be in a healthy relationship, you're just going to think that that's fabulous, that you're so well loved. And I've seen a lot of people come into counseling where one person will make excuses for that toxic person that they're involved with, who continues to do this, and their mindset is that that's considered love. And so it takes a large epiphany event to recognize that that's a very unhealthy way for anybody to live. Okay, so that's what we call uh, distrust in a toxic relationship. And another one is the disrespect. Okay, and so we define somebody that respects you as having admiration for anything that you do. I mean, they look at your abilities, they compliment you, they respect you. I've had people come up to me and say, I really respect what you're doing. I've done that myself too. My colleagues or other people highly respect the people that endeavored and fulfilled their goals, and just are doing what they set out to do, even with all the hardships. But when somebody disrespects you, they disregard all of that. They don't have the ability within them to even compliment you. Okay? What they're going to do is they're going to disrespect you, lack courtesy towards you, uh, have diminished views of what you've done. Okay? Uh, it's not out of the ordinary for us to be envious of someone. And it always helps to say, man, I'm really envious of you, but congratulations. The minute that you speak it, process it, it goes away. I mean, I guarantee. I learned that a long time ago. I didn't like the idea that I could be envious. It just didn't sit well with me. So I began to say that I was, and that I really appreciated and admired the fact that they'd been able to get to where they were. And once I put it that way, it just kind of dissolved. It's okay to be envious. It's not okay when you hide it and you try to pretend that you're not, because then it does get in the way. So that's a little sidetrack there about how to deal with envy, because we are all envious of somebody. It could be your partner, it could be a coworker, it could be somebody that's doing really, really well, and you think, oh man, they're born under a magic star, and why did things always go well with them, and yada yada yada. But acknowledging the envy will dissipate it and make you really move in a different direction. Okay? So it's normal for us to be that way. Uh, but in a new relationship, when you're constantly being um, treated with suspicion and mistrust, that's going to drain you. Yet you're going to lose your energy. You're going to lose your will to do better because it never gets complimented, or you're always, I call it being under the gun. Okay, so again, disrespect, distrust in a toxic relationship is there no matter what you do. If you do this, they're going to distrust you or disrespect you if you do that. So it creates a real conflictual view of what's going on in your life because you're just not ever sure. And you're concerned that if you do it this way, this is what's going to happen. So you do it this way, this is what's going to happen. So then you find yourself doing nothing, just standing still. And then you get criticized for that because you're not moving fast enough, or you're not taking action, or you're not doing what they want you to do right then and there. So when you're being disrespected, constantly being criticized, you begin to give yourself up, and you just to keep the peace. Because anything that comes out of your mouth will be construed differently. And if somebody is criticizing you and you try to protect yourself or give feedback or come back with a response, the results of that will be so detrimental that all you want is just to have peace. I've seen this in couples where you see one become absolutely passive. uh, put the put the cup in the sink. Okay. Uh, give me dinner. Okay. This sounds so antiquated. When I talk about things like this, it's not antiquated because it's still occurring now in this century in relationships, and that can be frustrating for a lot of people. To think we should be beyond this. This shouldn't be occurring in relationships, but it's unfortunate that it is because this behavior is normally modeled. Okay, what you see at home is what you take with you when you leave home, unless you've had again an enlightened period or an epiphany or something like that, where you're going to decide that you want it to be better. I can use myself as an example. I came in from a very toxic family lifestyle. My parental figures, one was passive, one was toxic, very unhappy, and I wanted to fight that, and I went way over to the other side. So when I got involved in relationships, my belligerent behavior uh, was detrimental to my relationship. So I had to find a balance. I had to learn. I had to go to counseling. I had to do all the things that are necessary for personal growth and to recognize what I'm supposed to be doing that is healthy for me and for anybody else that I want in my life. Otherwise, I'm not gonna have a relationship. So uh, it's important that you understand how this can occur, reasons for it to occur. We can recognize that a toxic person is not a healthy person psychologically. They've had their own emotional trauma, probably, and or physical, and there's nothing really we can do to help a toxic person. I've learned that after 25 years of counseling. I've had a lot of people come in and say to me, "Well, I'm here because of my significant other, and I want to know how I can change them." And that's very difficult to do, to come to counseling for someone else or to spend your time trying to fix somebody else. You'll find that it'll just be detrimental in the long run. They do end up having to have some kind of an epiphany. I've seen women and men make the exit, take the exit out of the relationship, and that becomes the defining moment for that person. And sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the person and what they desire to have in their life. So, again, these two behaviors, there's an accumulation of these different types of behaviors. Like I said, there's 7 of them that have been investigated or researched that demonstrates that you're in a toxic relationship. So again, this is not saying that you are in a toxic relationship, but it hopefully allows you to be more self-aware and understand what may be occurring and maybe in your relationship or somebody else's relationship, and that it may require you to go see somebody or take some action that will help you from being physically, emotionally, or psychologically impaired because of the toxicity of the relationship. Okay, it doesn't mean that you just are going to leave or anything like that. Again, I put a disclaimer here. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying this is information about what a toxic relationship has in the way of behaviors. And next week, we'll look at the other two. And if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe. Thank you.